All right, here we are. So we're going to dive into step 4 of the 5 steps it takes to build a 6-figure WordPress business. So, all right, just as a quick recap, we're on step 4 today, and we went through step 1, which was we talked about leadership and integrity, and really how the first step is actually transforming yourself. And we even touched on a little bit about mindset. Like, what is the mindset that you're approaching your clients with, your work, yourself, the value of what you deliver, the power of what you deliver, and why you go about all that stuff. That's really what we touched on with the first lesson, which was about leadership and leading your clients. Then in the second lesson, we talked about transforming your offers. And if that was one of the things that was a challenge, like in order to raise your rates, you needed to change the things that you were offering. So instead of offering like low value technical services that people can get on Fiverr or Upwork or whatever, or trying to be like the behind the scenes outsourced web development department or something like that, instead of offering those kinds of services, instead you're offering other kinds of more business oriented results. So we talked about transforming your offers from something that was low value to something that's high value. So in order to raise your rates, that's one of the things that you're going to have to do. So that was step 2, was transform your offers. Step 3 was transform your marketing. So what we talked about in the last session on Tuesday was if your website is geared towards working with or talking about your technical skills, like if you're using your website as your online resume, then you're probably marketing to the wrong audience. And instead, you ought to be marketing to business owners that have more business concerns, who probably don't even know what responsive web design is, or all of the technical things that you might put on your resume. If you're trying to engage business owners, then you want to transform your marketing. And then step 4, which is what we're going to be talking about today, step 4 is transform your results. Yeah, I got my mind thinking about the marketing. Step 4 is transform your results. I have a lot more to say about these things. So yeah, there's so many details that my temptation is to just start diving into it. But today we're going to be talking about step 4, which is transforming your results. And what I mean by that is, what is the result of working with you? Like, what is the difference between somebody who wants to work with just any person they can find on Upwork or Fiverr, or building a website themselves on Wix, or whatever? What's the difference between that situation and the situation with working with you? Like, what is the end result like for your client in those 2 scenarios? So you have one scenario where they build their own website, or they outsource to an inexpensive, maybe an overseas web development department or something that charges really low rates. And then there's your side of things. Like, what is it that you're going to bring to the table? What's the difference in results from one side to the other? And a lot of times, WordPress developers don't really get that far with regard to engaging their clients. And instead, they kind of they see a request for proposal, they submit a proposal, and then the proposal is really just, yes, I can do all the things in the request. And the result is, now the request for proposal is fulfilled. You've presumably done a good job, and you get paid for your work, and you move on to your next client. But rather than that being the result, which is a low value result, because now you're chasing clients all the time, you're struggling to compete against people that can legitimately work for a lot cheaper. Maybe they don't have the same kind of responsibilities that you have. Maybe they have a lower cost of living, whatever it may be. You're now competing against people that you can't really compete against because of their situation. And on top of that, even worse, really, the real tragedy of that situation, of this kind of competition, is it's not really helping the people that you're working with, because you're not bringing the results to the table. So let me say it this way. So suppose you're working with a client. A lot of the times, their issue, the problem that they're having with their business, is actually the same problem that you're having with your business right now. And so when you begin to unlock the keys for success for yourself, so that you can attract the clients that you want to work with at the prices that you want to charge, and have a good relationship that generates business results for the people you're working with, or tangible results, then you can then turn around and do those exact same things for the clients that you work with. So you can then work with your clients to generate these kinds of outcomes for their clients. So once you unlock the key to what it takes to generate results for yourself, you can actually use that same set of secrets to unlock the results for your clients. And that's what I'm talking about with regard to transforming your results. And can you see how that kind of a mindset, when you come to the table with that kind of a view as to who you are, who your client is, the power of what you're doing, can you see how that makes such a big difference compared to what we started out talking about, where you were just kind of listing yes to a whole bunch of technical requirements? So there's a stark difference in the results there. And so the big question is, what can you do to actually pull all these things together? So here's the thing. So let me give you an example of when somebody is, some red flags to kind of bring all of this out. So have you ever been in a situation, and if you've been in the WordPress world or consulting world, building websites for folks for long enough, one of the big things that you'll find that is a huge, just drag on the entire project is, can you get the copy? Can you get the messaging? Can you get content from your client? And one of the things that just drags out projects forever is not getting the copy. And so you can build the website, you can get the framework, you can even get the navigation down, you can get logos and colors and everything straight. But if you don't have the copy for the website, then you can't launch the site. And that's one of the main things that really delays projects. It draws them out for weeks, maybe even months at a time. And eventually what will happen is you'll either nag your client enough, or they'll feel guilty enough for procrastinating for so long that they will eventually get something to you. And then generally speaking, what most WordPress developers do is they join, they take the words from the Word docs and they plop it into WordPress. And so, but here's the thing, that result of doing that is basically the same result as if they went on Wix and built their own website and just copied the content that they wrote in their whatever, in Microsoft Word or something, and then just pasted it into Wix or whatever, some online website. And so what I'm talking about is, can you generate a different result from that? And so, a lot of times the copy stinks, right? And if you're just copying and pasting the copy from whatever, however you get it, emails or whatever, into the website, there's no value add there. There's nothing going on there that's helpful. And the reason that that's a problem is almost all business owners really stink at describing what it is that they do. And it's not that they're not smart enough to do it or whatever. And it's really the same problem that a lot of the WordPress developers I talk to have. I can't even count how many times I've heard somebody say, whenever I'm working for a client, I have such clarity on what they need to put on their website or how they should be talking about things or whatever, but I just can't do it for myself. When it comes time for me to do it, then I don't know how to describe my own business, and it's a hard thing to do. But most of the time, when we work with clients, when you guys go out there and engage with the clients that you're working with, it's on them to create all the copy for the website. And just like it's a problem with you, it's a problem with them. They don't know how to do it. They don't. And here's what it is. It's not that they're not smart. It's not whatever. The problem is that when you're involved with your own business, you get so deep down into the weeds of what you're doing that you can't really see the big picture anymore. You kind of lose perspective of why the business exists in the first place, or what it is that the clients are really looking for, or what outcomes the clients are really looking for. And instead, people dive straight down into the weeds of what it is that they do, the steps along the, what is it about your program or your products or your services that differentiates you from everybody else, and you just dive into that. And then on top of that, a lot of times there's so much going on with what it is that you do and whatever, all the details of your business, that it's really difficult to get that down into something that you can read on a website in a reasonable amount of time. So especially on the homepage of a website, which is, one of the things we talk about is what kind of content goes on what spots of websites. So like how does the content on the homepage differ from an interior page, which might differ from a blog post, which might differ from something that you post on social media? How do you figure out what to put on all those different platforms? And this is the kind of stuff that's just outside the minds of the business owners that you're working with. They don't think through that stuff. They don't know about that stuff. They work on the stuff that they do, which is why when they're writing the copy and you're just copying and pasting it onto the web or whatever, then that's a very different kind of a thing compared to if you show up with some leadership like we talked about and in the beginning. And so that's why the very first step, the thing, and like I know when I talk about this stuff, I talk about this stuff a lot, obviously, and I know that when I begin presenting all these things, and I say that the very first step is a personal transformation, like transforming yourself, then everybody sort of thinks, oh, well, I want to get to the e-commerce, I want to get to the email marketing, I want to get to the whatever, I want to get to the tech stuff that I can do to actually generate these results. But the bottom line is this: those results don't matter if you don't first make that leadership change. And that's why that's the first step into the 5 steps of creating a 6-figure WordPress business. You have to have that personal transformation, because that's going to be like the pin off of which all of these other things that we talk about hang. And so, and now when we get down to this results topic, that's the thing that we're talking about with regard to what you're bringing to the table. And you can't really have those results if you haven't first transformed the way that you interact with your clients. And if you're just asking them to give you all the stuff that you need so you can just put it online, that's not leadership. And so, and that of course negatively affects the results that you can deliver. So if you want to be able to generate high ticket prices for your work, you have to generate high value results. And so that's kind of what I'm talking about. So like if you're just doing the tech stuff, if you're just putting web pages on the internet, that's not a high value thing. If you can, on the other hand, if you can create websites that engage and attract and, and educate the kind of clients that your clients are wanting to work with, then that's a big deal. Like if you're generating leads, if you're creating content that actually answers the right kinds of questions and so forth, that's the kind of stuff that that's what motivates people. That's what engages people. That's the kind of stuff that generates high value results. And if you're generating high value results, that's what commands premium pricing. So that's why this 4th step here is, one of the critical steps that you need to take if you want to transform your business into a high value WordPress business. So here's a couple of questions to ask yourself. So are you looking to develop the skills that it takes in order to generate these results? Like, are you looking to, improve your confidence and pack your toolbox with more of the kinds of things that it takes to generate these kinds of results for your clients? Another question would be, are you looking for, would it be helpful for you if somebody worked with you to look over your website with you and to figure out whether or not you're having this problem, like where you're having a hard time communicating through your website what it is that you actually do for your clients? Would it be helpful if somebody looked through your website with you and helped you figure out your pricing, figure out what kind of packages you could offer, figure out what kind of services you should really be highlighting, that kind of stuff? Are you looking for that kind of stuff? Another thing would be, are you interested in learning more about how you can build and deploy and maintain WordPress sites in a system that's efficient and fast and stable? Do you want somebody to talk to about those sorts of things? Another question would be your proposals. Like, would it be helpful if you had somebody who could look through your proposals with you and make sure that you're really hitting the points that matter to your clients with that, and while leaving out the stuff that's distracting and disengaging? Would it be helpful if somebody looked through your proposals with regard to the pricing? You want somebody to work with about those types of things. And last, would it be helpful to talk to somebody about how to generate recurring revenue? Like, what kind of systems can you put in place with your business so that, with the types of clients that you work with the types of websites that you build, with, perhaps you have a particular expertise in a particular field. So maybe you work with a particular type of client. Maybe it's life coaches, maybe it's dentists, maybe it's doctors, maybe it's, whoever it might be, authors, writers, musicians, photographers. If you have a particular expertise, would it be helpful to talk with somebody about what kind of systems you can put in place that goes beyond just, I can host your website, or I can update your plugins, or whatever, something that's actually a valuable thing that you can be doing on a recurring basis for your clients, so that you can actually start generating that kind of recurring revenue. That's the thing, and that's really the key to what it takes to stabilize and to scale your business. Because if you're in the business of simply building websites, launching them, getting paid, and then doing it again, then as soon as you launch the website and you get that final check or whatever, that final invoice gets paid for doing that, then that client is out of the picture now, and therefore so is all of your income until you find the next client. And then when you find another client, you're kind of doing this horizontal line thing where you're finding clients. And then, you know, the sort of the myth is that after you do that for long enough, then you know, you'll be able to charge more per website. And because you're charging more per website, that grows your business. So where you used to sell, you know, $500 sites, now you're selling $1,000 sites, now you're selling $2,000 sites, and so on. But here's the thing. If you're not doing these 4 steps that we've talked about so far, then it's going to be a really hard thing to raise the value of the sites. And on top of that, you're still not scaling the business. You're just charging more for a website. What really you need to do if you want to scale a business is you need to have the situation, you know, balloon out. So instead of just having a payment, and it's all just linear, what you want to do is you want to have a client that brings in a layer of income, then another client that adds another one on top, and then another client on top of that. And that's the kind of thing that really scales the business out. That's what it means to scale the business. That's how you stabilize your income. That's how you make your business more reliable. It de-stresses your life, and it's actually generating a better outcome for the kinds of people that you're working with, right? So it's the kind of thing where if you're having trouble, you know, convincing your clients to work with you or convincing people to pay the rates that you want to charge for your work, if you begin to show them the kinds of outcomes that you can generate and how you can do that on an ongoing basis so that after you launch the site, you're not just leaving all of that strategy you know, hanging on the vine to rot, and instead you're really fertilizing, you know, the fruit, right? You're actually continuing to work with the client to actually generate those outcomes that you set out in the beginning. If that's the kind of stuff you're looking to do, then that's the kind of stuff that we can talk about on the phone. So like if those questions that we talked about, like do you want to talk about what kind of skills you need to actually generate these outcomes? Do you want somebody to look over your website with you? Do you want to get a plan together for how you can put a system in place to regularly generate and efficiently create and maintain and deploy WordPress sites so that you're not having to relearn themes all the time? And your proposals. Do you want somebody to work on your proposals with you? Do you want to talk about these systems for recurring revenue? If those are the kinds of questions that you want to talk about, then that's the kind of stuff that we can talk about when you schedule a call. So if you head over to doublestack.net/call, you're going to see my personal calendar on there, and you can pick a time that works for you. And after you pick a time, you're going to see a little form with a couple of questions on it. Fill that out. That'll give me a link to your website and, you know, some information about who you work with and the kind of work that you normally do, so that when we get on the phone, we'll be able to you know, really pack as much value into that call as possible. It'll be about a 45-minute call, and we'll talk about all of that kind of stuff for you. So here we are. We're 4 steps through. There's one more step that we're going to talk about next week. That's the 5th step into transforming your WordPress business into a 6-figure WordPress business. So in the meantime, if you have any questions or comments that you want to leave, yeah, did I get a haircut? Yes, I did get a haircut. How do you like that? So very perceptive. So anyway, if you want to talk about these things, then go over to doublestack.net/call and pick a time that works for you, and then we'll get on the phone one-on-one for about 45 minutes, and we'll go over all this stuff together. And it'll be an awesome call. It'll be fun to talk to, and I love working with you guys. And in the meantime, if you have any questions about, you know, what we're talking about here in this video, or just in general, go ahead and leave a comment. And if you're online and you wanted to say hi, it's great to see you there too. So go ahead and do that, and head over to doublestack.net/call. Pick a time, and we'll be on the phone. And until then, have an awesome time, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. All right, guys. High five. Whoop. Take care.